What is going on, everybody? Figured I'd jump on in a few minutes early because I don't have a whole lot else going on other than getting ready for this slate. So I figured I may as well talk with you guys about that. I am going to be playing some golf. I'm just going to really quickly because I do put my early my early lineup builds up there, which I think are going to be much more handy now that we're out of NBA season. But guys, I'm getting into a lot of JT, DJ, and Morikawa at the top. I'm playing a lot of Neiman, and I'm playing a lot of the top studs together. Some places I've had Win quite a bit. I've got Thigala quite a bit. I've got Mito Pereira quite a bit. Matt Neesmith. A bunch of those are sort of like the core guys who I'm using this week. So I just wanted to give that little part out. Had a disappointing day. I ended up bubbling the 777. Kind of frustrating. I actually had a really good night last night. I didn't really talk much about it earlier, but almost like tripled my money on DK, which was always welcome. So that was a good night, and almost won the 120. I had a shot at the 121 and the 88 for a while, and an outside shot at the big one for a while until things kind of went the wrong way in the seventh inning or so of the last games. But anyway, on to the next one. We will talk a little baseball. We will talk a little basketball. I'm curious what your guys' takes are on the NBA situation. And I know I'm not allowed to do it, so this is something we're gonna, eventually we'll have these premium things where I can actually show my screen. But I'm just gonna read my lineup right now out loud. Trae Young, Terry Rozier, DeAndre Hunter, Bridges, Harrell, Bogdanovich, Herter, Keldon Johnson. It's really hard not to stack up the Atlanta game for me on DK, so that's what I'm probably going to be doing. But I do feel like there's some pivots off of that. I wanted to get like some Herter exposure. I wanted to get some Gallinari exposure. Obviously, Trae's an obvious play, and the toughest one I had to come up with was I do think if San Antonio stays close, I think you could see Murray with the bigger game than Trae, and then you could play the Bogdanovich Herter or Bogdanovich Gallinari angle. So I'm just struggling with that decision myself because you're going to get much lower ownership there. Really hard to get different on these 2-game slates. But I've got some Capella other places. I've got some Murray other places. I do really like Rozier on DK. That price is hard to argue with. So Podol, I'm guessing that's a question. I do like Podol. He was originally my build. I was going through it though, and as much as you don't want to game chase, but when you're hunting down a playoff spot and you start seeing a trend that you want to catch on to, basically since the end of March, we've seen a totally different Keldon Johnson who basically always gets there. And his usage is up, his shot attempts are up, his minutes are up. I would expect him in a game like this to be really important for the Spurs. So I think he's my play instead of Podol because I was trying to find someone in that game to go with. And I ended up going Keldon Johnson. I do have Podol in some other ones, but Podol was in my first one. Keldon Johnson, after a little more digging, I think this could be a big game for him. And I don't like the matchup as much with Podol. So that's where I'm at for that one. For baseball, the main things I've got, instead of reading my sheets, I will look at the actual lineups that I'm throwing out there. It's a terrible slate. Obviously, everybody knows that. I think that the plan for me is just to play, like you get the popular Milwaukee bats and then you get the unowned ones. I don't love picking on means in general. We have a 3-game slate, not a lot to choose from, good weather there. I don't think you're going to see ownership on Yelich. I don't think you're going to see ownership on Caratini or Rowdy Tellez. But so I would try to include at least one of those guys if you're going to go with a stack. I don't think you need to go full stacking tonight. The guys who I like the most I would play Yelich as a contrarian thing. I do love Adames, even though he's going to be popular. So how else can we get different? Playing the ace. That's not the most exciting thing. This is probably the highest strikeout situation on the night. McClanahan can absolutely deal. I think he's an awesome play. I am going to take the lower ownership slightly and play the other side of this with Montas. And it's mostly because I wanted to get in some low-owned bats and who have some power upside. So you've got, Pinder leading off at 2.3. He's going to be fairly popular. But if I just throw in any one other bat, and I kept landing on Jed Lowry, and this is the kind of slate I would play Jed Lowry on in like a 2 or 3 man stack. So I'm considering those two as a mini part of the stack. And then you could include any of these other guys. I think Seth Brown would be my favorite, even though that's a weird situation because he's a lefty. I just thought that there's going to be no ownership here. And I on a 3-game slate, it's a 4-game slate, but I'm treating it like a 3-gamer. That's what I'm going to do. I do love Brandon Lau, however we want to say it. But again, I can't really take hitters against my pitcher. I almost could. I don't know if I want to spend that much on someone who's a pitcher against my hitter against my pitcher. But I'm going to be heavy also on the Toronto and New York game, especially the Toronto side. I think there are some real leaks we've seen from Garrett Cole. Even when he does pitch well, he still gives up tons of home runs. I think that trying to pick out 2 or 3 of these guys would be a really good idea. To get the low-owned Vlad, it seems like really appealing to me. Springer is another one, probably the best one. I think Matt Chapman has an argument as a low-owned, bottom of the order play. I think Kirk at 3,100 at catcher. Those are the guys who I'm using the most, but I don't mind if you want to pick any of them as a one-off or as part of a stack. And then I like the Yankees side of it, but probably not as much as the field does. So if you're going to make a Yankee stack with Gallo and Rizzo, just play the righties too. Like, I don't think we need to go that crazy on the platoon splits. As good as I know Barrios is to righties, it's just it's a 3-game slate. We got to take some chances. So I'm going to just bet on my favorite home run guys. Like I like Donaldson tonight. I like Judge. I like Guerrero. I like Springer. I like saving with the A's. And then I like, getting in my mini stack, the 2 or 3 man part of the Milwaukee stack, which is fine to play the chalky ones if you want to do it that way. But if you want to include Yelich or get weird and skip out one of the guys I'm saying want to make a 4-man stack, against fine also. So that's what I'm doing tonight. I am pitching, as I was alluding to, I'm pitching Burns and Montas. Burns, best pitcher with the most upside, I would say. McClanahan would be the other guy I would choose, but I am playing some A's, so I don't want to go that route exactly. I think the long shot, low-owned Barrios play has, as much as I like some of the Yankees, I think that's actually a really good way to get leverage as well. And I think you can play an unowned John Means against an offense that we haven't seen anything from. So that's sort of the mix of the guys I'd be using. Anybody else, we have weather concerns. I think Garrett Cole is actually getting lower ownership than I thought he would. So I think you could argue for that one, but I kind of like the idea of going Barrios cheaper and half the ownership. And I kind of like the Montas at lower ownership than McClanahan. And one thing we know about Montas that I feel really encouraged is one of his, second start and all that stuff, but he pitched 92 pitches, which is like unheard of. I mean, man, imagine if they let Kershaw throw 92 pitches, he might have had to throw a perfect game today. It's his first perfect game. And he's 80. It would have been his first perfect game. He's 80 pitches in. I understand it's opening day. I understand the situation. I just don't. I don't like this about baseball. This is like unheard of from my growing up, and I don't want to be the bitching about baseball guy and just accept that things are. I want to accept things are different. I want to be fine with it. But I love the Dodgers. I love Kershaw, and anything he does at this age is only a bonus on his resume. Who I would call him one of the best pitchers, other than whatever Clemens was at the end. I mean, you could. Very hard to argue against Kershaw as being the best pitcher of this generation. And people could say what they want about postseason. He's still actually a winning postseason pitcher and has the best closeout ERA and record with the number of games of anybody in history. So anyway, that's my little Kershaw spiel. I'm not playing Seattle. I don't trust this game's going to go. I think it's interesting to try to play it and assume that it's going to. But I am going to avoid it. And on top of it, it's windy, sort of like gusting across the field. But, it is 66 degrees and humid. I could see that being hittable enough weather. But I'm fine with anybody from Seattle. I'm just not going to do that until I hear a better weather report, which I won't have much time to. So it'll have to be right after the show. But I don't see that game as being very optimistic at all. So I'm going to probably avoid it. Even on a 4-game slate is when you'd want to do it. But the problem is, I'm not sure people are paying that much attention to this slate, and you're going to get guys who are playing people from that game no matter what. So, I mean, you look at is it canceled yet? Did I just get a different update? Let me see. Let me double check my news here. You guys probably know before I do because I'm sitting here talking with y'all. I don't have it as out yet, but I do think it's really sketchy. So that's where I'm at on that one. Firing any more questions, guys. This is probably going to be a quick show unless we have a lot to talk about. So let's talk about anything fun. We did the movie thing with me and Sheets. Maybe somebody wants to drop in some fun TV shows. Maybe somebody wants to talk about who they like to win the title. I'm still struggling with that decision myself. I think if I had to pick, it's really hard for me not to go back to the finals of last year. Like if someone said your life is on it, I like Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee. I don't see a series where I'm not taking Milwaukee. Basically, if they were playing in either conference, the one series that would be weird for them would be Golden State because of the way they funnel and their drop defense, and it would leave a lot of open threes, which they'd have to change. So that might throw them off a little bit. But I don't see them as not being a favorite in every series, or in my opinion, the favorite in every series. I like Miami a lot, but I just think that Milwaukee is tough. And Miami might have a little bit of a tougher road. I don't think Milwaukee has a ton to worry about. Another upset prediction. I don't know if I'm going to go with this full prediction in terms of betting on it, but I'm considering it. I'm definitely considering Toronto to beat Philadelphia. I think Toronto is a team that's built for the postseason. They're not built for, not built for the postseason. They are a team with so much length. It's so weird. It's going to take people a little bit to get used to. Yeah, they have a huge mismatch with Embiid, but what's Embiid going to score? 100 points? Harden's got to show something. And then you put that length and that defense around him. Whether it's Van Vliet, whether it's what's his name, Scotty Barnes guarding him. These guys are tough. Like, they're really tough, and they rotate well on defense. So it's going to be a tough matchup for Philly. Any interest in Okongwu? I think Okongwu is a good tournament play. Yeah, I do. I think, people forget when we see the Capella stuff and everybody's like, oh, it's Capella. They used him a little bit more down the stretch and all this stuff. We still have seen Okongwu come in and play good minutes. We've seen him close games at times. And what if they get off to a terrible start and Okongwu helps on the bench side? Sort of what kept Garland on the bench for a while in yesterday's game. They were down 20 and the bench started playing well. So you don't really want to take that energy away. I will take a mini victory lap. I don't know what Rondo ended up putting up last night, but I felt like that was a good call. I felt like he was there. He was there to close. He was there. He was the one who helped him turn it around. So I don't know what his final stat line was, but I know that was. I would have felt really good about that play had I pulled it off in more of my bigger stuff. Just because you're just looking for that weird opportunity, right? And today's opportunity guy, they're weird. Okay, so your super weird large field play is Kelly Oubre in case the game goes the other way and Atlanta gets up big, and then Oubre comes off the bench, sparks him. It's going to be hard for them not to play him going forward. But again, he's pretty buried on this team a little bit, so it's kind of hard. There's an outside chance, like Plumlee versus Harrell is one that I've been thinking a lot about, and that's why I'm having a tough time with Okongwu. I think you could make an interesting case for an Okongwu Harrell lineup, or just to get really different, or even Okongwu like Plumlee. I think you're just gonna have a different build if you do something like that. So that's where I'm at on this one. I do look for what it's worth. I put up my bets. I'm not going to say exactly what all my bets were, but I will say I bet Atlanta to win this game. And I bet New Orleans to win their game, which is nothing revolutionary, but you can look at my bets and see I kind of like them anyway. Pretty good here. Herb Jones, I do have in lineups. Yeah. So another guy's going to play minutes. They're going to need his defense out there. I don't feel like it's an amazing play. I don't feel like, oh, look we get to play Herb Jones. It's like, no, I need 4,500. I'll play some Herb Jones. But I would say that, like, if you're going to take Herb Jones versus a guy like Herter just has so much more of a secure role. Well, not more of a secure role, more of a can get you 30 without having like his best game ever. And Herb Jones can too in this match. I like him in this matchup. So I do like Herb Jones. I just, I'm not thrilled at it. Anytime you see 25% next to Herb Jones at 4,500 with the way that their roster is now, it's not that exciting, but we're looking for not exciting. We need some value because it's really hard to get all these good players in. I have another super large field play. I think Devin Vassell is a phenomenal tournament play. I think that he's one of those guys who can shoot his way into a really big game. And I'm going with the Keldon Johnson side as my favorite, but I don't mind if you want to take a shot with Vassell instead. And in that same vein, I think that you want to take a look. I wish he had small forward eligibility. That's where I was struggling. I don't think anyone's going to play Lonnie Walker. He's another one that fits that potential game script, right? Like, Spurs get up big, Pelicans get up big. Lonnie Walker brings him back, kind of a thing. He'll try to create. He's going to try and shoot while he's out there. So if he shoots his way and plays his way into some more minutes, if he already shoots his way into anything, there's certainly a path he could play more than the 21 minutes he's being projected for. Those could be 26, 28, maybe 30. Say Primo's could be 26, or they could be 14. Josh Richardson's could be 14 or 26. And Vassell's could be 30, or they could be 20 something. maybe they could be as high as 35 or something for him, but that would take a lot of really good play. Anyway, it's interesting. It's a fun one to go through. I really am excited for this NBA, the real playoffs starting. My guess is well, I'm not. So I'm not going to give W. Fresh. I love you, buddy, but I'm not going to give you an answer on whether a game's going to play or not. That's never going to be me. I'll tell you what I think the odds are. I think it's probably less likely than likely, but maybe it's closer to 50-50. Either way, I'm just not interested in investing myself. There's so much DFS to bet on. Let's not just not put a lot of money into this slate. Like, but I'm not going. You could take the argument to try and stack it because other people won't play it. That's probably the best line. I don't like playing one or two players from that game. I think that would be the worst way you could play it. Joe Val, of course, along with everybody else, completely in play. I think he's a solid play. I think he's a really solid play. I like Biggs against Spurs. I think he should get more run than his normal season run. But they do sort of like to go with that other weird lineup sometimes. So like that's the thing I like about him is that I think there's upside on his minutes from being projected around 33 or 32, depending on which site you look at. I think that there's a good chance that he ends up playing 36 to 38 if the game is close. I also think there's a chance this game could blow out, or it could be a running kind of blowout where the other guys, Jackson Hayes and what's his name together, Larry Nance, could go that direction as well. Is Ingram sneaky with the Q tag? No. Nobody's fooling anybody in the postseason. Ingram, I currently have projected to be, 50% owned, so definitely not sneaky. I actually think that I would play McCollum before I played Ingram. I think that McCollum could have a huge night here, but I think Ingram could have a good night as well. I just think maybe the median is going to like Brandon Ingram more, but I actually prefer McCollum. And then Joe Val's the lowest owned, so I definitely don't mind that. I also don't mind if someone wants to take a weird shot with Larry Nance. I don't think it's a great play by any means, but it's another one of those, hey, if the game flow goes a certain direction, it could be this Joe Val gets 2 fouls quickly. They probably slide him on in. You could see, I don't know. And like guys like who are projected to get minutes like Trey Murphy at 15 minutes, I'm just not buying it. Super large field hero play would be Devontae Graham. Don't do it in small or buy-ins. It's just literally foul trouble for McCollum, or they're up by a bunch, or they're down by a bunch, and then he leads them back. That's sort of the flow, how he gets there. Zach Collins is mildly interesting to me because I could see him, they don't really unleash him because they've been treating him sort of with kid gloves as he's been forever because he's been injured his whole life. I like his game. He showed that he could at least play 30 minutes because he did it once. And that makes me think, like, the other thing is, though, it also wouldn't surprise me if his minutes were cut way back. So I think he's a good wild card play. I actually like that call a lot. Like, I think that is a really good – he belongs in the category with these other guys we're talking about. I'll tell you what, you want to get really weird, play a Zach Collins at power forward and then play like a Plumlee or a Harrell with a Kongwu. And, oh, boy, you can sort of do whatever else you want elsewhere. You don't have to worry because you knew you just took your gambles. And if things break your way – you could all start all the backup centers, and actually there's a very, very reasonable path for them. All right, guys. Anything else before I get – DeJounte or Trey? That one I covered. That's a tough one. So I'm going with Trey currently, but I don't feel great about it. I do have some DeJounte. I think I have like 75% Trey and 20 – no, I have like 40% DeJounte. I put them together in a lineup. So – I do like him above the field. I just don't like love him. If there's any other questions I've missed, let me know. And if not, guys, please get the like. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We appreciate it. We're going to be pumping out a million different sports. Still trying to get back to my own physical self. This is the best I've felt in quite a while. I'm on my juice cleanse to try and fix whatever bug was inside of me the last week or so. So sorry about not being quite as with it as I am now. So who's my home run fun calls for tonight? That's a good one. That's a good question. I'm going to say, good question. The safer one would be like Gallo, but the one that's going to get lower ownership would be Springer, or probably I'm going to go with my man Vlad. I think Vlad is going to connect with one against Cole. There's my wild one. And Vlad, I'm showing almost no ownership at all, just for what it's worth, which means he's definitely going to be higher owned in the high buy ends, but won't be owned in the low ones. It's pretty funny to talk about that, just the difference. And that's why when the ownership sometimes gets confused, because like last time I think Luzardo was 13% in the 777, and he was like 3 to 1% in most other tournaments. Like that, there is that shows you that people are on to something. You know what I mean? LaMelo on site specific, please. On FanDuel makes a lot more sense than DraftKings. I like Rozier better on DraftKings. I think LaMelo probably has a nice game here, but who are you playing him over exactly? You know what I mean? That's why it's hard. Like he's 9,700. That means you're locking up your salary and then look dumpster diving between one of Trey and what's his name and him. One of Trey and DeJounte and him. Yeah. It's fine. It is what you know what you're getting into. It's Lonzo's could have a huge game here, like absolutely. And I don't think like just take a look at the ownership on him. I mean LaMelo. Sorry, I keep saying Lonzo. Let's see what I have it at. 25%-ish. Yeah, it's fine. You realize that the only problem is that Trey is 900 or Trey's 900 more and DeJounte is 1,200 more or 1,100 more. And I think that those guys are safer bets, but I wouldn't surprise me at all if LaMelo put up a huge game. And also, I actually feel like he's being projected right, but his minutes could certainly see an increase. I do like it. I don't know. My build's found different ways. I'm higher on Bridges and Rozier because I can get the build like a solid build, because there's not like the value that we really like unless we're do something like we're talking about, which I'm definitely going to do, by the way. Before I get off and do nothing and watch sports and catch up with friends the rest of the night, I'm going to make sure to get some of that weird lineup I just mentioned in, just because it absolutely has a path. It would be unbelievable to have something like this work out. And I think that it could. I think this is the kind of night where it could, between the Collins. I mean, it's just, there's no way anybody's playing that, right? Like it'd be hard to play it. Yeah, so I'm going to do a little bit of that myself. Just making sure I've got it in right. And Trey, Herder, Hunter, Collins. No, that's wrong. Herder, Hunter, and I need to Herder, Hunter, Collins. There we go. Yeah, I've got it in. I got it built. Now I'm like Sheets. I'm just building while I'm on the air. All right. So let's see. Oh, that would be Herder, Hunter, Collins. Yeah, that's right. DeAndre Hunter is a really good. I mean, obviously, I don't think I need to tell anybody that. He's obviously like a strong play today. Collins. Wish I could get Gallo into that one. Trey, LaMelo. Yeah. All right. Well, that works. That's mine then. That's gonna. There's your winner for the whole thing. All right, man. No problem. Yeah, I'll say what's up to Sheets. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. I know it's not the most exciting show, not the most exciting slates, but let's do the best we can with it and let's make some money. Good luck, everybody.